Folks, what we're going to be talking about today is we're going to be talking about the steps that I took in order to go from being an agent to being a broker and then finally being a commercial investor. And for those of you that are looking to do that, let's take a step back, right? Guys, type a 1 in the chat if you like the idea of money coming in on the first of the month, not depending on this closing or this deal or that deal, the whim of a buyer, the whim of a seller, the whim of an appraiser, the whim of a bank. Guys, type a 1 in the chat if you would like to see that. You'd like to see repeatable income the first of every month. Okay, Jim's with me. Because here's the thing. You can make a very good living in commercial real estate. There's a lot of people that have done it for many, many years, and you can do that. But wouldn't it be great if you learned a skill and then finally you pointed that skill at yourself, right? Think about it, folks. You are going to be learning a very, very valuable skill. For those of you that are going to dig in and figure out how to take commercial listings, right? How many of you recognize, have an exclamation point if you realize how lucrative the skill of learning to be a commercial listing agent is? Type an exclamation point if you realize, okay? I want to make sure everybody's on the same point. Okay, Dave's with me, Jim's with me. Okay, cool. Because here's the reality, folks. Across the country, the average commercial agent, right? The average commercial, I should say, sale transaction is right around 1.6 million. Guys, do me a favor. Type 1.6 million. Calculate a 3% fee on 1.6 million. Do me a favor, right? Figure that out and then put it in the chat. Because the point of it is, folks, if you learn how to just take one listing, there we go, Jim, 48K. Exactly, guys. You can get a new Lexus for 48K. You know, you can get a whole lot of stuff. You can pay a whole lot off your mortgage for 48K, right? You with me? You got a $500,000 mortgage. You can, in one deal, bang, you could pay down 10% of your mortgage, right? So the point I'm making, folks, is the pathway that most people will go through is, number one, most people just don't go from nothing to being an investor. They get some experience, whether they work on the acquisition side or the disposition side, maybe for a private equity firm, maybe, just maybe, they do the traditional route, which is basically as realtors and agents and brokers, we get to do this stuff and get paid to learn. Folks, what do doctors, guys, just take a guess. How many years do doctors have to go to school for after their undergrad? 5, 6, 7, 8 years? You guys with me? What do you think the average doctor comes out of school with debt? Let's put this into perspective. What do you think? Okay, if most students are coming out with $100, $150, $200,000 in debt, what do you think someone is a doctor who learns how to become a surgeon? Okay, friend of mine, the doctor. Guess what? He didn't start practicing until he was like 32. Went to so much schooling. The point I'm making is, folks, the skill that you can learn, okay, in a very short period of time can pay you over and over and over again. And all it costs is your real estate license and some training. You with me, guys? Okay. So because what most people don't realize, and you'll hear me talk about this a lot, is think about what a listing agent does. Okay. What does a listing agent do? Listing agent looks at a property, looks at the value of the property in relation to the market, and then they take that property, they put it on the market, and they sell it to a buyer. What does a buyer do? They purchase the property, and in the process, they make themselves and their family a little bit wealthier. Okay? Now, let's think about what an investor does. An investor takes a look at a property, determines its value in relation to the market, and then they go and they purchase that property for themselves using either their own money or maybe someone else's money, right? There's nothing better than OPM, other people's money, right? So think about it, folks. If you really, really want to really think about it, it's the exact same skill, okay? If you walk away with nothing from today, I want you guys to understand that becoming an investor, okay, and being an agent, learning how to list properties, it's the exact same skill. Can anybody tell me what the difference is? Because they both looked at the property. They both determined its value, so they both know how to value properties, okay? The only difference between the two, folks, is one person, yes, exactly, Jim, your value, okay? Are you willing to bet on yourself? Are you willing to take a chance? You know why? Your family will thank you for it. Your children will thank you for it. Their children will thank you for it. How many of you guys want to change the course of your family, right? How many of you guys want to make it a little bit easier on the next generation? Okay. Guys, all of this can be done in one generation in commercial real estate. I've seen it done firsthand. Okay. So you can change the entire course of your family's trajectory, right? In one generation by learning one skill. You learn how to list properties. It allows you to learn how to sell properties. And then at a certain point, guess what? Then you take that skill and you aim it at yourself. Because think about it. You can, like I said in the beginning of the talk, you can spend a lot of time and a lot of years making a good money. Like the average income in this business, and the statistics are a couple years old, but it's like more than double what the average American makes, 150, something like that a year. You can make good money in this. You can make 2, 3, 4, 500,000 a year. There's a whole lot of commercial brokers doing that. But you got to get up every day. You got to put that harness on and you got to go, 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 go. Okay. At a certain point, you're going to get tired of hustling every single day to make someone else's family wealthy. How many of you guys type an exclamation point at a certain point want to start making your own family wealthy? Okay. Let's see who's with me. Because guys, that's a deciding factor. Because I just laid out to you, it's the exact same skill. The only difference is how much you want to roll the dice and bet on yourself. Okay. Joanna's with me. Jim's with me. Kate's with me. Okay, cool. So folks, more real estate has created more millionaires than any other industry, right? All you have to do is look at a baby boomer that bought their house at $75,000 in 1980, and it's worth $1.2 million today. And guess what? They're a real estate millionaire. And there are more of them than you can throw a stick at, right? So the point is, okay, this industry naturally creates millionaires. The questions are you on or off the train? Okay. So the way I broke into the industry, right? I started doing investments at a young age, right? I was like 24 the first time I bought something, right? But what really got me, I always knew that I wanted to get involved. I did some flips. I did some stuff. I'm handy. I'm a licensed plumber, licensed electrician. So I always knew how to fix stuff. So that was my value add. But the way I had the most amount of impact, folks, was I went out and I learned how to become a commercial agent. More importantly, okay, after a couple of years of stumbling and so forth, I learned how to become a commercial listing agent. Can anybody tell me the 3 things that you need to be able to have a repeatable commercial business? Can anybody guess? Type it in the chat. 3 things you need. Okay. Once you crack these, you can never unlearn it. It's very, very simple, but unless you know how to do it, you will never get the same recipe. Can you imagine if you guys, how many here people know how to make brownies, right? Right. And I'm not talking Betty Crocker where you just crack the egg and you put it in the mix. Like we actually make good brownies, right? Okay. What would happen with instead of putting a half a cup of sugar, you put a half a cup of salt? What would happen, guys? Type it in the chat. What would happen? It'd be pretty nasty, right? It would look good, but it sure wouldn't taste good, right? Exactly. Salty, right? And that's fine if you're like eating buffalo wings, but you don't want to have brownies tasting salty. So the point is, folks, you have to have the right recipe every single time. And then guess what happens? When you have the right recipe every single time, something magical happens. You get to see success over and over and over again. Are you going to get 100% of listings 100% of the time? Absolutely not. Anyone that tells you that, throw rocks at them. However, you're going to put your best foot forward and have the best possible chance of having repeated success. Why? You're using the same formula over and over and over again. Does that make sense, guys? Type one in the chat if you're with me, right? If you're tracking, okay? Because here I'm about to give you the 3 things that you need to know in order to be able to have a repeatable recipe. It's very, very simple, okay? You got to be reaching out to the right person, okay? You cannot call people just because they have happen to have their name on the title of a commercial building. That's not sufficient, guys, okay? That's what every other broker does. Number 2, so you have to have the right person. You have to have the right message, okay? You're reaching out to somebody with the wrong message, it's going to fall on deaf ears. It'd be like offering a hamburger to a vegetarian. They're never, ever, ever going to eat it, okay? And then finally, at the right time. We can control the first two. Okay. We can control the right person and we control the right message. How? Okay. We look at what through a lens of what we call reason to believe. What does that mean? Okay. Why do I think just because the person owns a building is not good enough? We need to have reason to believe this person is going to transact in the next 3, 6, or 9 months. Okay. Otherwise, there's no interest. Have any of you ever spoken to an owner and they're like, yep, sure. Yep, yeah, I'll sell. Bring me an offer at $2 million and I'll be sure to sign. No, no, no. I don't want to sign any papers, but just go ahead and bring me an offer and I'll sign. How many of you guys have ever got that? Show of hands, right? Like everyone on here. Okay. That person is full of shit, straight up. Okay. I'm just going to cut it to you real straight. You know why, guys? They're full of it because if they really were invested in the process, they would sign on the dotted line with you. Now, why do I say they're full of it? Because write this down, folks. This is very, very important. And it took me many years of beating my head against the wall to figure out and taking a bunch of crappy listings with people who had no intention of selling them. Price motivated is not motivated. The person that the only motivation that they are telling you or that you can uncover, and then I don't mean just the first swipe through. Some people will hold their cards close to the chest, but people will tell you eventually, if you get into it and you know what to ask for, you know what to look for, okay? If they are only price motivated, guys, it's just not going to work. You know why? Because it's arbitrary. It doesn't stick to anything, right? You know, it's like, someone says, oh, yeah, go out and bring me a $2 million offer. Great. You hit the pavement, you make 200 phone calls, you knock on doors, you beat the bushes, you find an offer, and you somehow talk them into getting it up to 2.2. Awesome. And what happens when you deliver that offer, guys? They think to themselves, that was kind of easy. The first person in the door brings me the price I wanted. Maybe I'm leaving money on the table. Maybe I can squeeze this for a little more. Now, Janet's tracking with me. I see the light bulb going off, right? What happens? Oh, well, when I said 2 million, I really meant like 2,150. And then next thing you know, and it's, guy, there's nothing worse than delivering an offer and the person who isn't motivated just keeps upping it and upping it and upping it. I've had listings, guys, where the people up the price 3 times on me. That's just not fun. It's not fun. It feels better to hit yourself in the face with a hammer, right? So how do we avoid that, folks? Can anybody guess? Type in the chat, how do we avoid not working with people who are not motivated? What do we have to do? Yeah, there we go, Jim. Hell yeah. I only work with clients that are willing to sign an exclusive. Booyah. Joanna says pre-qualified. Yes, exactly. Hell yeah. Okay, let's talk about qualification, folks. Okay, this is a very, very important part. What are some things, I call them triggering events? What's something that would trigger someone to want to sell, or more importantly, have to sell? Okay, remember, people don't sell, especially if you're talking about outside factors. People don't sell under the market because they want to. They do because they have to. Okay. Here we go, Janet. Yes, retirement. That's a good one. Okay. What about the D's, guys? Think about the D's. What are some D words that are triggering events? Death. Yep. Booyah. Yep. Family situations. Exactly, Alex. Yep. What else? What else we got, guys? Okay. What if, okay. How many of you, show me a show of hands, right? How many of you, your life changed in the blink of an eye? From one day to the next. How many of you, right? Got some real bad news. Maybe you're sick. Maybe a loved one's sick. Maybe you get to a big birthday and you start really like reassessing your life, you know? Maybe, just maybe, you know, your partner ran off with their secretary to Tahiti. Who knows, right? Anything, guys. But I promise you that over time, guys, at some point in your life has completely changed from one day to the next. You with me, guys? Type a 1 in the chat if you've ever had that happen. You've ever gotten that phone call and your life as you knew it changed. Okay. All right. That's what we're getting at, folks. And that's the third component. Okay. Right person has to be motivated. Right message, that's knowing how to go after them. Okay. And the most important thing, guys, the right time. Like I mentioned, people's lives change at the drop of a hat, and it happens all at once, right? Okay. So that's what happens when you reach out to somebody and they are selling for the right reason. Guys, have any of you ever had someone that they're just like, yep, okay, this is what we're doing. Yep, all right, perfect. Yep. And you ask them why. Okay. Folks, it's the best thing ever to work with people that are actually motivated, because you'll actually be able to get the deal and actually be able to get it done. I can't tell you how many times, myself included, okay, because I've taken a lot of sales training, a lot of persuasion and all this stuff training. And what winds up happening, folks, you cannot control the outcome, okay? People, now write this one down, guys. People do business for their reasons, never yours. That person will lease that space. You're not talking to someone, and you know why? Because there's too many steps in the buying process. There's too many steps in the selling process. You're not going to like slick, like you might be able to get away with that for like a one-time wham bam sale. Like a stockbroker might be able to sell somebody on a call, get them all riled up, and bam, they make the transaction. But it's not going to happen in real estate. Why? We have so many times, so many days and data points in between. How many times, if you can get someone into an emotional state, you can get them to buy, but chances are they're going to sleep on it. They're going to wake up with a different head, and they're going to be in a different emotional state. Has anyone here ever woken up in a better mood than they were in the day before? Yeah. Anyone ever woken up in a worse mood than the day before? The point is, folks, you're not going to talk anyone into anything in real estate. It has to work for them. So the thing I'm trying to impress upon you guys is you have to be doing business with motivated people. You have to be doing business with people that have had a triggering event, or there's some reason other than money for them to sell. Everybody with me, guys? Type a one in the chat if you're with me, right? Okay. And all this stuff might sound really, really basic, but I guarantee you half the people on the call are not taking this completely to heart. Okay. And it took me years to figure out. It's just like, oh, great, I've got 15 listings. Okay. 10 of them might not be really in that pocket where you can actually do something with, right? So the more you're thinking about this stuff on the front end, the more you will. How many of you have ever type of me in the chat if you've ever taken a piece of business? It might be a listing. Maybe you work with a buyer. Maybe you work with a tenant. You're representing them in getting some space. And for some reason or another, like nothing ever came of it, right? Then maybe the buyer ran you around in circles. Well, guess what? They weren't motivated, right? Or maybe they weren't qualified and they were just kind of kicking tires. Anybody else ever done that? How many of you have ever been ghosted before? Type the word ghost in the chat if you've ever like put someone in your car, shown them a bunch of buildings, went on LoopNet, went on Crexi, went on CoStar, sent them reports, all this good stuff, only to find out they joined the ranks of Jimmy Hoffa in the witness protection program, and like they're gone. Nowhere to be seen again. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So the way you avoid that, folks, or at least mitigate it to the largest degree possible, is very simple. Find out why they want to sell. Anybody know what a real good line for that? Very, very simple. Okay. Has anyone ever done reverse psychology on you and it worked? Yeah. Okay. I see Kate smiling. Yeah, exactly. Very, very simple. Hey, Mr. Seller. Wow. Man, this is a really nice property you have here. Just out of curiosity, I mean, you've owned it like 20 something years. Why on earth would you ever want to sell it? Guess what happens, guys? Well, they start either they're going to be like, yeah, I don't know. I'm probably not going to, but they don't. Okay. That might only happen about 5% of the time. The other 19 out of 20 times, they're going to tell you all the reasons why. Oh, these tenants are driving me nuts. Oh, no. Oh, well, this. Oh, well, that. Oh, sometimes they'll say, hey, because the market's hot, and that's fine. What do we just find out if the first thing out of their mouth is the market is hot? What do we find out? Guys, type it in the chat. What do we just uncover? Our job is to uncover their motivation. A reverse positioned question like that. Why on earth would you ever want to sell it? It's such a great property. Man, it's a really good neighborhood here. Yeah, why? People are dying to get in here. Why would you want to sell? Okay, boom, exactly. You're going to find out if they're price motivated or not. You're going to find out what their motivations are. You with me, guys? Is it making sense? Okay. So the point I wanted to drive home to you guys today is these are all the skills you need to learn to become a listing agent. And here's the best part, guys. When you are putting deals together for yourself, it's the exact same set of skills. It's the valuation, it's the underwriting, right? It's the understanding whether someone is actually serious and actually wants to do something. because my journey was very, very simple. Okay. Became a listing agent, was in the market for properties. I didn't become an agent or a broker to become the best broker ever. Okay. Happened to stumble onto a process that really, really works. But I got in to become a landlord, period, end of story. So I always had that in mind, right? So the nice thing is, write this down, folks. Okay. We see everything before anyone sees anything, which allows us to every single day while we're getting paid to do deals, lease deals, buyers, sellers, whatever. Okay, we're getting paid to learn about the market. Guess what? We get first dibs at everything. How cool is that, guys? Is that a light bulb for anyone? We get to see everything before anyone else sees anything. All right. You remember Martha Stewart, right? She went to jail. Does anybody know what she went to jail for? Anybody? Yeah, when she's not making brownies up in the big house. Yeah. She was slinging stock, but she was trading on insider information, okay, which is completely illegal in the stock market. Guess where it's not completely illegal? In the real estate market. Okay. In fact, it's perfectly legal. So you pick up the phone, you talk to somebody. Guess what, folks? You now have inside information. Yeah, sure, I would sell it. Yeah, I just turned 70 and I want to see my grandkids in Arizona some more. So yeah, if you can find me a buyer for 1.9, yeah, me and my wife, we're at that point. We're tired of being landlords. You got yourself a piece of inside information and you can trade on that. Okay. Does that make sense, guys? Light bulb. Type an exclamation point in the chat if that's a light bulb. Okay. So what I want to impress upon everyone here is start with the end in mind. You can make very, very good money in this business. You can make six-figure checks in single transactions. I've done it many times. Okay. The point I want to bring to you guys is take that money and stockpile it. Don't go buy a bigger house. Don't go buy another boat. Don't go buying a faster car. Okay. Do those things if you want, right? But if you really are smart, you would squirrel that stuff away. It's because you only have to be right a handful of times, 1 or 2 times, and you are financially independent. Why? We get to see everything before anyone sees anything. Does that make sense, folks? Type a 1 in the chat. All right. So today is less of a tactical practical. Like I'm always giving you guys kind of tactical practical pieces to take away. I wanted to just kind of open your minds to what is possible. Okay. Does anybody know what they want to if what their financial number is, like what their monthly nut is that they need to earn so that they're financially free? By the way, guys, you don't have to make $2 million a year to be financially free. It's just whatever your monthly bills cost. So type in the chat if you guys happen to know that. I'll give you a really cool piece of information, right? If you happen to know what your monthly nut is, I'm going to give you a really cool formula. All right. Take whatever your monthly nut is or your annual nut. Let's say it costs you $125,000 a year to live. Okay. Divide that by 0.04, right? So let's just say for argument's sake, whatever your number is, let's say it's $100,000. Okay. You're going to divide that by 0.04. And guess what? That's 2.5 million, right? Can anybody tell me what that means? Like I said, a couple good decisions and you are there. With me, folks? Okay, 1.5, 2.5. Good, good. Does that make it feel a little bit more real, folks? Type a 1 in the chat if that makes it feel a little bit more real. Like, oh, snap. All I have to do is get to 2.5 million and then I don't have to work again? What is that? Well, shoot, if I'm making $500,000 a year, that's like, 6, 7 good years like that. And if I save right and invest right, I don't have to do much more after that, right? That's what we're talking about, folks. But you know what the trap is that most people fall into? Most people, as their earnings increase, their style of living increases. And you're always keeping up with the Joneses. You're buying the Rolexes. You're buying the big body Mercedes. You're buying the fancy stuff because, well, you earned it. You deserve it. What if, just what if you kept that financial footprint a little bit smaller? You're a little bit wiser with it. Okay. I'm going to tell you a funny story about an investor, right? He bought a building for $5.5 million in cash. Okay. And we're walking up the ramp. There was like a handicap accessible ramp. We're walking up the ramp. We just came from the closing. This is back in the day when they had closings and we had to push around the table and stuff. And he's walking up the ramp and he sees something. and he reaches down. So like the ramp's about this far off the ground. He reaches down in between. This guy's like in his like 60s, right? Reaches down in between the ramp and the ground, and he picks up a penny. So the other broker that was with me, he goes, "What'd you do that for?" He goes, that's one less penny I got to spend on this building, right? He goes, "You just bought this building cash for 5.5 million." But the lesson is there, folks, okay? Write this down. You watch the pennies, the dollars will take care of themselves. Now, I'm not saying go out and be a miser, but the more you are in control of your spending, okay, the more you're going to be able to save for your future. Remember, there's 2 ways to fill a bathtub, okay? Anybody tell me the 2 ways to fill a bathtub? Number 1, plug the drain. Number 2, more water, okay? The drain is what you're spending. The water is what you're making, okay? You can fill that tub up twice as quick if you plug the drain and turn on the faucet. With me, guys? Okay? So what I want to impress upon all of you, in fact, I want to challenge all of you is think about what your end game is. Think about if you were to like be able to wave a magic wand, what would that look like? Would it look like retirement, like a comfortable retirement for you and your family? Would it look like you'd have your kids' college all paid for? Would it look like just a little bit more cushion so you don't have to worry about bills, guys? You are all in the right business, okay? There's no better time than now to make money, okay? You're all in the right lane, okay? All you have to do is learn the skills necessary so you can take advantage of this opportunity. All right, folks? If there's only one thing I can show you, folks, is implement every day. We have a 991 rule. It's very, very simple. I just gave you 30 minutes of things to think about, okay? Go out and implement, because information without implementation is a big fat goose egg, okay? So you have to take what you learn and then go implement it. You have 7 days to go implement. I will see the rest of you next Monday. Have a good week, folks. Good to see you.